Hey guys, it's Loveless. Time to talk about my favorite podcast, and I promise I won't be biased. So, have you guys been enjoying Frenemies? I didn't really know about Trisha before this, and I think, like a lot of you, you either like her more or less after her appearances. Last podcast, Trisha had her biggest explosion yet. Unfortunately, it led to calling Gila out of her name and storming off the set. It's unfortunate, and I think it could have been avoided. Do I think she's a horrible monster? Not really, and I'm sorry if you were looking for that narrative. She reminds me so much of one of my cousins from the way she looks and her unapologetic sexual nature. Like most people I've known with BPD, there's a good person in there that's struggling to interact with the world. I can admit I've had similar struggles myself. What seemed to set Trisha off the most is when Ethan asked her if she knew what it's like to be around children. She took it as a slight against her infertility.
Alrighty, Frenemies, second ep of the week. Because we were chatting it up too much in the first one.
We can finish this episode, but I'm just telling you.
Are you still excited for the pizza or
Right,
no?
yeah, I can't wait.
That's sarcastic. I'm still excited for the pizza. Can we move past this?
When I have a kid, I'm not going to have nannies, that's for damn sure. When I have a kid, I'm not going to have nannies, that's for damn sure.
She really came that way? All right. Oh, I see where this is going.
What does that mean? So should I quit or should Hila quit?
It's not about quitting. It's about balancing your schedules, in my opinion. You could do whatever you want, but if it was me, it'd be called balancing your fucking work schedules, especially because you're both blessed to be able to work for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I would balance it.
So right now, Hila's at the job and I'm doing the podcast. So should I not do the podcast or Hila should not be at the...
I think both. I think
Okay.
you should get
I just wanted you to help with my schedule. So I'm not going to do the podcast.
If you want my help, I'll give you your help.
Yeah, I'm
You're
just trying to
asking
help.
for my help.
Yeah, I'm asking for your help scheduling my life around
Okay.
Theodore.
All right.
So I'm doing the podcast now. So Hila should be at home for sure. And then when I'm done with the podcast, she can go to the office and I'll be with Theodore.
Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
great schedule.
Okay. And do you know what it's like being with a 1.5-year-old?
Of course not, because I don't have a parent.
Right.
It's a little insensitive because I'm infertile, and it's a really issue that I struggle with.
Well, I
so
ask is because you
I
realize
don't
that you
have
can't
kids,
do
and
any
so by
work when you're
saying
with.
that, you're saying, do you have kids? Throwing it in my face that I don't. So
No, that's not what I was doing.
it's exactly what you were doing because I don't have kids.
No,
so why
my
would you
point.
ask
My
the question
point was that
you know?
you're assuming that it's so easy for me to be with a 1.5-year-old, not knowing how insane and nonstop it is, that I wouldn't be able to do anything else with the rest of the day.
She was also highly upset by Ethan saying talking about Gila was off limits in regards to their family problems.
Oh,
Yeah,
getting another-
Hila was watching and she said, "Why didn't you tell her that she had powder on her lips?" I was like, I was staring at it the whole
You're
time.
so mean.
On my screen, it just looked like a glint on your lip gloss.
In the beginning, I said
I
you
would've
have
said
powder on
something.
your lips, but then you didn't get it all off, and the whole episode I was just staring at.
Can we have Ela as a guest on our podcast?
No.
Why? Because people think I hate her or she doesn't like me or something. I feel like we need to have because you know what I mean? I like Ela so
She
much.
could sit in. Yeah, she could probably sit in.
You just said no. Now you're like, yeah.
Just a snap judgment. She's busy. Don't talk about Ela. We're cutting this part out. She doesn't want to be talked about.
Are you fucking serious?
I'm serious. We have to cut this.
That's fucking crazy. What's even the point? She doesn't want to be talked about.
Because she doesn't like that you're always bringing her up and saying how she doesn't like you and all this shit because it's not true and she finds it annoying because she doesn't want people to start thinking that she doesn't actually like you.
Well, she doesn't.
Well,
She doesn't.
well, whatever. Just cut it out, Dan. I'm serious.
I'll talk about it in mine. I don't care because that's so bullshit. I'm going to stop talking about my personal life altogether then too.
Okay, whatever.
And then turn the H3 podcast and boring and it'll just go down the tubes and no one will care because you guys are not honest and open about shit. So and you cut everything out that's personal. It's like, whatever. Wow, you can't even mention her.
We mentioned her last episode. Because you know what? Leave it in.
No.
Every time
No, don't.
You
I don't
go,
care.
why does Ela hate me? And she's like, I don't hate her. It's super annoying. Why does she keep saying that?
And
And
why
it's
doesn't
causing.
she text me? Just text
Text
me.
you?
Be like, hey, I don't hate you. You know what I mean? But when she's telling stuff about Moses.
'Cause I always
I
say-
don't care.
Yeah, we should cut this. Let's just move on.
No, but in general, I'm telling you now, she needs to text me and just be like, hey, I don't hate you, But it's she's telling Moses, oh, Trisha says this
I think,
and that. It's
okay, this is all off the record, but I think she's just really annoyed by the situation and she just needs some time.
What's the situation that I said
Not anything to
something?
do with you, with Moses.
What'd he do?
He is always. Honestly, it has nothing to do with you.
Okay, so.
And I don't want to get in the middle of it.
So
but
why
it's
did
between
it-
him and her.
But she literally brought me up because I was we were watching TikTok and I saw the thing being at 1 a.m. in the morning. She was what are you telling Trisha? Like, why is she saying this stuff on the podcast? Like, all this stuff.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, because okay, she was irritated because you were like, I'm not inviting mom, and she was like, dude, why? Like, my mom doesn't need to see that, and I know,
God.
but then but it's like, Moses, why are you telling her that you're not close to us and that you're not close to your mom and you're not inviting your mom
but
to the
you guys
wedding?
talked about Moses on the podcast well before we started this one.
But it's not true.
And he's not public. You guys were talking about him and shit. Whatever. It's so fake, and that's why H3 is not what it was, because you guys are fake as fuck and cut things out.
Okay, you're like on a thing now. So.
I'm not. I just think it's so fake. It's so bullshit. It's like, oh, let's talk about everything.
Hila
Her
asked
life.
not to be included, and I'm
okay.
respecting her request.
Then I'm not talking about anything personal anymore.
I do think her and Ethan have strong frenemy energy where they take jabs at each other. I like to believe it's mostly unintentional. Here, though, I don't think Ethan was being malicious. Miscommunication can cause a lot of problems, especially people that are sensitive to being slighted because they think the world is out to get them, like Trisha. You would think by now Trisha would have more trust in Ethan, but sadly she doesn't. If you think people are constantly out to get you, then you might react like Trisha. There's no excusing her calling Sweet Hila out of her name. As someone who has struggled with controlling their mouth in moments of anger, I totally know what happened. Really, the name calling, in my opinion, is just lashing out and crying for acceptance. And I'm sure Trisha regrets it.
When this was happening, the back and forth, I realized what he was doing. I'm like, he's pushing me and pushing me. So we have this explosive fight, and I truly was like, I don't want to get up and leave because that's what he wants. Trisha storms out. And that's exactly what he put in this title anyways, because of course he asked me to leave. And at that point, like, I kept saying, like, let's move on, let's just end this. And then he kept saying, wait for the pizza. And then the pizza gets there, and he's like, I think you should leave. And then I think at that point, I didn't rewatch it, and I don't want to, like, blame it on blacking out. I really don't remember. I know I was screaming profanities, and I was hysterical when I got to the car. I was hysterical when I came home. I went to the bed and was just hysterically crying for a number of reasons. One, like, it's embarrassing. I'm in their house, which is always awkward for me in general, but to be in someone's house and, like, screaming like that about someone in that house, like, it's, like, not okay. You know, their child being upstairs with the nanny. I don't want to bring the child into it again, but, like, it was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing for me that I got to that freaking point again, that I couldn't control it, because I do take pride in really, really trying to control when I get to that space. And I feel like I've done such a good job in my relationship to be like, hey, this is triggering, we need to stop just for a minute, because I know I calm down, and I know I instantly regret things, the malice that comes out of my mouth. And that's my immediate regret.
I believe Trisha wants to be friends with Hila, ideally. I think Trisha is a very blunt and a real person, so she's probably finding it hard if Moses is venting about his family to her, to not say the venting to Ethan and Hila. I think she should realize, though, that it's not her place after bringing it up multiple times. Let Moses work it out. And Moses should also be more transparent if he's telling two different stories.
Then there's the aspect of, like, okay, we have this footage. Should we even upload it? What's the deal? So anyway, Dan put it online unlisted. And then when Trisha messaged me, we talked it out and everything. And she said, well, we knew it would, like, get a lot of views, obviously. But the question was, like, basically, there's the question of, like, is this fair to upload it? Is it too much to upload it? For me, it felt like this is the lore of the show. This is the whole show. If you don't upload this, you're missing a huge puzzle piece. But I wasn't going to upload it without her permission. So when we were talking, she brought it up and she said, well, at least I hope you've got good footage. And I said, I have it unlisted. Do you want to watch it? And she said, no, you can upload it, but this was her condition. She says, as long as nothing's edited out. That was her condition. She said, you should upload it as long as nothing's edited out. And she wanted it. She literally wanted me to upload it. Mm-hmm. She said, you should upload it. And I said, all right. So we uploaded it. And I do think it's important that we upload it because, like, how could you possibly explain what happened otherwise?
Right.
So then I think we fixed it and we resolved it. Obviously, the comments were pretty brutal to her. You know. But so I thought we were all good. And you know what? Ironically, Dr. Drew is scheduled to come back next week.
I know, and we are all supposed to be in that episode. But now I don't see how we can do it.
So Dr. Drew was scheduled to be back on Tuesday. We were going to do an episode with everybody, with all the crew, Trisha and Moses and Hila. And we all already submitted a personality test. We were going to get our results of our personality test. But now it's just going to turn into like an episode of Jerry Springer, Hila said. And I think she's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if Hila's there and Moses is there and Trisha's there and I'm there, it's just going to turn into an episode of Jerry Springer.
Trisha went to make another video that didn't have the apologetic tone of her last one. She basically went on to say that Hila was acting high and mighty, and that Hila and Ethan are fake, and that she's quitting Frenemies for good.
Okay, I'm watching the live right now of H3, and honestly, I'm done. I'm honestly done with Frenemies. Yeah, we were supposed to try and do this Dr. Drew episode next week or whatever, but I'm seriously freaking done. My security guard's behind me right now. Sorry, he just like came in, but I'm so freaking done with them because honestly, they didn't even watch the full video of what I put out. And I am so fucking sick of Hila being so fucking mightier, holier than thou. I deserve to not be talked about and all this shit like that. So did we at the beginning of our relationship. So did we at the beginning of when me and Moses started dating. They talked so much relentlessly about me. And she's like, what's the joke? What's the joke about my family not being invited? It's a fucking joke.
As you can tell from the amount of dislikes, it seems like people think she's in the wrong here. Will there be another episode with Dr. Drew next week? Who knows, but it might be perfect timing, honestly. I hope they'll be able to work things out. Hila and Ethan seem ready to move forward. Trisha just needs to be on board too. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. That's it for today. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.